Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm super excited. You've been following me on social media. If you get my email, you see that we are going to be having a conversation today about hair love, hair care. We even got a hair care stylist expert in the house for you today. We are going to get educated. We are going to be celebrating and getting liberating, right? Well, y'all, I want to introduce to you my two lovely guests this afternoon with me. One, I have Crystal. If you follow me, you're not unfamiliar with Crystal. So Crystal, say what's up, girl.
What's up, everybody? What's up?
Crystal is a blogger. She's, of course, a sister of mine. She writes, she speaks, she's a motivational speaker. She has her blog, seasonword.com. And so if you didn't hear our last conversation on sisterhood, be sure you go check that out. So Crystal, glad you're in the house.
Thank you.
And we also have a special guest, Keya. Let me read her bio, y'all. Keya is hailing from the East Coast and the Maryland area. And I'm taking us right off of her website, Kolour Kulture. And y'all gonna know who this lady is, and you're gonna want to follow her. So she is a stylist whose passion for color and texture is unmatched. She has over 25 years of experience, and she is she's leading a national revolution, y'all, that is breaking textural boundaries that has long separated those in the hair industry. Her passion for hair color and education has led to the conception of Kolour Kulture, an educational resource for stylists who are particularly interested in the science of hair color and how it interacts with various hair textures. Keya launched her cornerstone education series called Texture versus Race at the Energizing Summit hosted by the American Board of Certified Hair Colorists, which has since become a nationwide movement with a summit of its own and has amassed the support of top industry influencers, including the Board of American Board Certified Hair Colorists. Yes. Keya is a stylist who is also certified by the board, and she has just received so much support for the organization. It was the first, I didn't know this. You were the first Black woman to be a keynote speaker for their Energizing Summit in 2019. Let's go, girl. I love that. And y'all, her bio is amazing, but she has this passion for hair color. She has won, awards, been recognized, been in magazines all over. And I really brought her on here today to bring the right information to our community, right? There's a lot of bloggers out there talking about hair care and naturalistas and all of that, and not to take away from them, right? I don't know what all their credentials are, but y'all, you know me, how I roll and Crystal roll. We want to bring experts in the industry to share. And Keya is not just that. She is not limited to that. She's also a woman of God. So she's going to bring a spiritual perspective that represents who we are in Christ. And she's just all around cool people, y'all.
Let's just go. I love it. Thank you so much, Radhika, for having me. Crystal, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. And I'm super excited about this conversation. This is all in my wheelhouse.
Yes.
I'm like really excited to sit at the table with you guys and just bring the real and really talk about it. I realize, we're going to go deep here. So I'm excited. Yes. Thank you for inviting me. And it's certainly my pleasure to be here.
Oh, well, it's our honor to have you. So let's jump into it, y'all, because we got a lot to cover, and we're going to let the spirit lead us, right?
Right.
So this conversation, I titled it Hair Love. And I just want to throw out to you both, how would you define hair love?
Crystal,
what does that mean to you? Whoever wants to go first.
For me, it's just loving me in its entirety, right? Hair is just one piece of me. It's not everything, but it is just loving who God created me to be and the texture that he's given and embracing it and wearing it boldly and confidently and letting everybody see, oh, yeah, you can do so much, just embracing me for everything. And not only just the hair, but in deeper to the inner me. You know what I mean? It's just, it's everything. That's what hair love is. It's just not loving my hair, but it's loving me.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. Keya, what about you? What would you add to that or say?
As a stylist, I will say that hair love is much more than just loving your hair. It's about loving the culture and the history attached to it.
Yeah.
It's about loving how it makes you feel, and how you feel about it has to be reciprocal. And I think that that's sort of where we stumble, is that we haven't really come to terms with our hair love completely because of that attachment to history and emotions in our culture. So I want hair love to be something that we can put sort of in a box, put it where it should be, and not let it take over every part of our life, because somehow it has grown roots. Spreads in so many different ways. But hair love is accepting who you are, what you are, how God made you, and being honest with who you are, and letting that thrive and live, and pay more attention to what it can do versus what it's not doing.
Yeah. Oh, so, that's good. Yeah.
I know that's right. Bring it, Keya. What are some of the negative impacts of us, as based off of those definitions that you both shared? What are some of the negative implications of not having that perspective of hair love?
Well, first of all, let's just say we've always had this stigma against our hair, and it was never believed or perceived to be beautiful. And that's something that's ingrained in us from generations and generations before us.
Yes.
Historically, we could go all the way back. We really could.
Yes, we could.
Just to even keep it recent, we were always kind of bastardizing that texture and not giving it any place to live, to be beautiful. We've never reflected it to be beautiful. We've never embraced it or been told that it was beautiful. It was always, you have to submit this hair to be something else in order for it to qualify as beautiful. And that in itself has made us view our hair in a very negative way. We've called it things like nappy and unruly, and we've said things to it. We've talked to it and said we hated it. This whole thing, and this won't work, and this hair won't do right, and girl, you don't want none of it. You can handle this. And I believe that all of that has taken an emotional impact. And I would love for us to really push through that a little bit and talk about why we feel that way. This is something that's been perpetuated way before we could even think to say, but I am beautiful. Like, this is a whole movement by itself, just us as a culture loving our hair the way it is. This is very new to us. We've not always loved our hair, period.
Facts. Witness.
Right now, actually, I'm fighting. We're having a conversation right before we go live. We had a conversation. We're not getting along. We mad at each other right now, but it's gonna be all right.
That's right. That's right.
And to piggyback on what Keya said, I think another thing is that we tend to look at everybody else's hair and wish we had some component of another person's hair, or we look at, man, I can't get my hair to do that, or why does she have to have that type of hair, or whatever. And I believe that if we would just focus on what we have, work with what we have, and try to perfect that and love what we have instead of looking at somebody else's, then that too will help us love our hair. We have these wandering eyes, and our hearts, our minds, our thoughts, they steer where we stare, right? It just messes us up because we're looking elsewhere instead of looking at what we bring to the table.
That's right. And I mean, if you, go ahead, Keya.
Right there. I'm sorry, Radhika.
No, go ahead.
But you also have to remember, Crystal, that what we see is what we perceive. We eat with our eyes. So whatever is being put in front of us now is what we have deemed the standard of beauty. And that is systematic in itself. So
come on.
No. I agree with that completely.
Each other because they saw that was the norm. Was it when you historically, but when you come over here and all you see is the commercial, the advertisement, the marketing, and all of that is saying, well, it had to be straight in order for it to be
right.
Beautiful. Then of course we're looking around, and now that we've embraced the curly girl movement, let's not forget that there's still a certain level of control there, because now we put the epitomes of Tracy Ellis Ross and the big loopy curls to represent the girl community, when that's really not where where most of us live anyway.
Right.
So
right.
It is about what we see, and we wander.
Yes.
But we don't have to wander far, because it's like right here.
Right. Every direction.
That's what I'm talking about right there. I'm not even looking at the media piece, right? Because I'm not the one to be on TV. I'll just tell y'all that now. I'll read a book in a minute. But it's still that we're looking at other people, because I know we have that part going on, but it's still that we're looking at and coveting what somebody else has.
Yes, absolutely. I was looking at Lupita Nyong'o, and she did a photo shoot in 2018 that was spotlighting the culture of hair. And I wanted to kind of read a clip of what she had said. She says, I was really kind of envious of girls with thicker, longer, more lush hair in my tween years. And I started begging my mother to have my hair relaxed, right? Mm-hmm. And she said, so when she was around 13 or 14, she had such a terrible time being teased by people, and she felt so unpretty. And so her parents finally relented, let her get her hair relaxed, and she said, and she felt a lot more accepted. And she did the photo shoot. So the reason why she did the photo shoot was to show that coily or kinky hair has many strengths, and it can be worn in a lot of different ways. And she wanted to celebrate its beauty and versatility. She wanted people to know that loving your texture is important. And so I want to ask you both, we know that social conditioning has told us straight is more beautiful, kinky, curly, natural, ugly, unattractive, unprofessional, not acceptable, wild. Some people have associated our hair type with being militant, right? And so how does your hair now define your persona or your professionalism? And so do you both agree with her statement that loving your hair texture is important? Why or why not?
Crystal, you want to go first?
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, I think that's kind of the blanket statement. Loving your hair is important. That's important for us and our own mental health's sake. But that has not been what's been fed to us. It has not been cultivated in us to love our hair. And that's the part we have to deal with, that historically we've always, we took that on as truth. Our hair
we did.
Is happy, it's ugly, it's unruly. Because someone else have told us that it wasn't.
Right.
Someone else is feeding that. They have decided that our hair, because of when they brought us, I thought I wasn't going to go there, but when they brought us over, the first thing they did was shave our hair. They took everybody's hair, because the hair represents your status, your
culture,
money,
identity,
your culture, your lineage,
wealth.
It was all about that. So they wanted to make everybody in a big utopia, just put us all on level playing field. So they took everybody's hair off, and that was what we were attached to. So now, when you do that, when they see that, it sort of represents a strength, or like you said, they feel like you are too radical, or you might be, like you said, militant, and then they associate it with Rasta or locks, and it being dirty and saying that it's unkempt. And so they now associate, the way to break it all up is to say, oh, well, we don't feel like it fits into the professional stigma, so then we block that out, and they force you to submit. So that's a loaded kind of.
Yes, it is. And that's the issue.
We're supposed to love our skin, but how do we love our hair when we're being passed over for jobs, or just not hired or fired because of that? So it's hard to love the one thing that you feel like is holding you back.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying. Crystal and I were talking about Chris Rock's Good Hair documentary, and there was a comedian, Paul Mooney, in there, and he said, if your hair is relaxed, white people are relaxed. If your hair is nappy, they're not happy. Now, y'all, please, my white friends out there, don't be getting mad at me. I did not say this, and I am part white. Y'all know that if you know me. And my mama was white, okay? But the reality is, he said there's two reasons in the documentary why it makes people unhappy, right? Because of this social conditioning, right? He says, one is when you sport your natural hair, you are free, your hair is wild, you are radiant, you are regal, right? You talk about the queenhood we're talking about right here. And that is out of reach for most people, so that makes them unhappy. The second reason, he said, it's all about conformity, right? By choosing not to tease or tame your hair, you're also choosing to let your hair express its personality rather than look like everyone else's hair. And that's why it makes people unhappy. Now, that's his opinion, of course.
Uncomfortable,
right? I was watching a documentary, and I shared it with Crystal, and there was a beautiful woman in there. She was a model, and she had curly hair just like mine, probably similar texture. And when they called her up for the photo shoot, they said, oh, we requested that your hair be straightened for this photo shoot. And she was appalled. And it took her back to when she was a child, a little girl in school, and she decided one day to wear her hair curly, and the teacher made her sit at her feet in front of the classroom like a dog. Oh, wow. And she cried and said how terrible she felt because her teacher perceived her as wanting attention. You're drawing attention to yourself. You know, you're trying to make this about you. And she said, no, this is about me celebrating my hair and just letting my hair be. But those messages in the media are what we have to really be mindful of, right, as women. So when we are not feeling confident in the skin and the hair that we're in, we have to ask the bigger question, why is that? Who told me my hair is ugly, unmanageable, is wild? Who told me that my hair defines my identity, my value, my purpose, my professionalism? And so those are questions that we may not all be able to unpack, but my sisters who are watching, I want you to begin to reflect upon that and say, why do I feel this way about my hair? What messages have I believed about who I am, my beauty, my worth, right, my value, because of the media, the culture that has lied to us and told us that kinky, curly, textured hair is not the standard of beauty. And those are lies, right?
Big time.
Absolutely.
Have you, either of you, heard about the Good Hair study that was done in 2016?
No.
Okay. So in 2016, the Perception Institute conducted this study called the Good Hair Study, right? Now, we all have heard, oh, you got good hair, right? Mm-hmm. You got bad hair, you know? Mm-hmm. and I love my sister-in-law, Nikki, and she's a beautician and all that as well. And she said, all hair is good hair. I was like, praise the Lord. Amen, sister. That's right.
It's good hair.
But I want to share with you what the study was and some of the findings and get your thoughts on it, okay? So this was the first study to examine what you're talking about, Keya, is explicit and implicit attitudes regarding Black women's hair. So in conjunction with the Shea Moisture creative team, Perception Institute created the first hair survey to assess women's explicit attitudes toward Black women's hair anxiety, and experiences related to their own hair. So in this study, there were over 4,000 participants of a national sample. So about over 3,000 of them were men and women, and there was a sample of 688 naturalista women from an online hair community. So here's what the study found: that Black women will still to this day feel stigmatized when it comes to their natural hair texture. Black females from the millennial generation embraced their natural hair more than all the women that were sampled. Black women who rock their natural hair have a more positive impression about their hair versus all other women that were questioned. However, on the other hand, when white women were asked about their opinions regarding Black women's natural hair, they rated it less professional than smooth hair, less beautiful, and less attractive. And it said that out of the study, all of the women expressed some anxiety and worry about their hair, but Black women experienced the highest levels of anxiety over the white women. 1 in 3 Black women reported that their hair is the reason they haven't exercised, compared to 1 in 10 white women. 1 in 5 Black women feel social pressure to straighten their hair for work, twice as much pressure than white women. Black women are more likely to spend more time on their hair than Black women. Black women are more likely to report having professional styling appointments more than white women. Black women are more likely to report spending more money on products for their hair than white women. And 1 in 4 Black women have difficulty, me included, finding products for their hair because more than half of them have not been able to find products for their hair. First thoughts, reactions to this study. Keya, I would love, being that you are in that industry, for you to kind of share with us some of the things that you've seen. And is this true? Are you seeing these same effects in your industry?
Absolutely. I mean, things like, not exercising, finding the anxiety around your hair, being forced to submit to a certain standard of beauty. All of that is absolutely correct. I do a very multicultural clientele, so I get it from both ends. It's just funny that happened in 2016, but I bet if they did that poll today, we would find it to be a little bit different.
I think so too.
The hair movement is now moving into every other culture, and it's now it's the new shiny thing, and everybody and their mama wants curly hair, and they're doing that. And it just falls in line with all the other things that a certain culture they want those things, but not necessarily the people that it involves. And so now they're taking that on as well. So we see a lot more other embracing their curl where they have also, and let me just put a pin right there, being that I work with the texture community so heavily, but in a multicultural aspect, I get a lot of white women, Jewish women, Spanish, but everybody has the same story. Maybe not the historical, the lineage and the lengths of the history, but the emotional attachment to curly hair, feeling like your hair was not good enough or not good at all. That's something that all of us share. So there's a point where curly hair is going to become its own race. It's not going to be, curly hair will be a race by itself because it will encompass so much. But historically, up until probably 2016, so those things were still in place because we were still trying to figure out how to embrace that and how to function in this world that was still sort of side-eyeing you like, I see you, are you trying to be like, I'm every woman? Is this like an empowerment movement? Like, what are you doing? Right. Because it made them uncomfortable. I believe with every, with most of what was found, but one of the things you did say was that the younger generation doesn't carry that burden.
That's true. And it may be
younger girls don't care. They like, well,
right. That's so true. Right. And Keya, I just want to shout you out because maybe it was last year I wrote a post because I've been on my own hair journey, right? For all my life, I was telling Crystal last night, it had never been a thought in my mind as a young girl growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s to wear my hair curly. It was always, you flat iron it. Like, that's how you do your hair. That's how you manage your hair, right? And that was before only Blue Magic was available, right? There wasn't all these natural hair products that the wide range that we're seeing today. And I had pain because when I got married at 20, and I remember I went to a black salon, a famous, very popular, well-known, high-end hair salon in Pittsburgh on my wedding day. And when I walked in, I had a black woman that was doing my hair. And the first thing she told me was, you need to get a relaxer in this mess, right? And I remember when I posted that and the shame on my wedding day that I felt for my hair, right? When I had never really been as maybe explicitly approached in that kind of a way, that kind of hair shaming, that made me feel bad for my hair. But what I love about you, Keya, is that you came on there, you responded with such care, compassion, wisdom, education, and empathy. And you said on behalf of all of us in the industry that didn't know any better, right? Because this was one of my sisters. I'm sitting here trusting her with my hair on the most special day, one of the most special days of my life. And to sit there, again, I was 20, and I'm more mature now, but that did have an impact on me. But I appreciate you and the movement that you created, the passion. And you're like, that's why we got to change that, right? We didn't know better. And this is not to throw hate or shade on that hairstylist, but because of social conditioning, and I want to get back to that, is what you were saying, these deep roots, these biases that we, even as sisters, maybe some of us still hold as we look at the hair typing, right? What texture are you? Oh, you got a better texture than me, right? But all of those things that I appreciate you are speaking out against and educating us, even within our own sisterhood.
And that's true, Radhika. I really felt you in that post. I remember reading it and I jumped off and I was like, oh my God. This is that pain, and I get that pain so much, in the chair, in the salons, and we already double as your your counselor. So these broken little flowers that come sit in our chair is all we could do to get you to a space of confidence. Sometimes, and that's really in our hands. Like, in our hands, we can make or break a person still.
Come on.
The wrong haircut can set you off.
Right.
The wrong haircut can keep you in the house for about 3 months until it can stay back with some headbands. So we have to be mindful of that at all times. And when I read that and I read your post, I felt you. I felt the hurt. I felt the harm that was done in that moment. But I felt like I also needed to share with you that she was harmed too.
Yes.
She was sort of projecting what she knew.
Yep.
In that moment on what was already living in a certain bubble. So she penetrated the bubble aggressively, and then she caused harm and she caused scarring for you that really lasted for a very long time beyond that. So I wanted to speak to that and just go back, and even for the people that will watch this, if you're watching now or if you're watching the replay, just understand where we were when the natural hair movement took place. Most of us had conformed already. Mentally, we were already in the space of, if you're not going to press it, you're going to relax it. Those were your options. Like, that's kind of it. And so you kind of can't be mad at a dog for barking. We were all there. We were all trained to conditioned be a certain way and feel a certain way. And so for us, when we were handling you, we didn't know anything better than to say it. Now I can't apologize for how she delivered the news.
Sure, right.
This kind of all kind of way wrong, but I will also say I've been wrong a time or two or three or four.
Right.
I've had to go back and make amends and apologize and say, you know what, I really didn't handle that well, or I really didn't speak well. That didn't come out right. Now I'm not apologizing for what I said, but I am. About what I said, and I apologize for how I made you feel in that moment. So where she was wrong there, I understand where she was also.
Absolutely.
And I just want to offer that apology to
I appreciate that.
Everybody that's watching, that we were not being violent on purpose.
Yes, right.
But when you put a whole bunch of dogs in a room and create this level of competition or this stigma, we all will respond a certain way. We were all kind of in that together. We were all trained to think a certain way about each other.
True.
So we operated as such. And
that's right.
If you left the pen, and you went like, hey, I'm every woman and I'm gonna rock my curly hair, you were looking at us for something that we didn't have.
Yeah, it's so good. And I just love that you continue to carry that, because what you're doing is you're saying your pain has become part of my purpose. And I appreciate that about you, that you're like
reciprocity now. We're leaning back. We're reaching back to apologize.
Yes.
And when I see people acting all indignant and all, I'm like, hey sis, you weren't that good about 10 years ago, sis. You weren't in the soapbox and talk to people like that. I need you to come on back to reality and realize that, we caused some of this too. We had a hand in keeping going.
Right.
So yes, sis, I need you to come on back and come off that box. It's just a whole thing. So there's a lot of work being done in our sisterhood community, our stylist community, our multicultural, diverse community. There's a lot of work being done all the way across the board.
And I say #respect. I wanted to ask you, Crystal, to share some of your experience about your hair journey, because I have lots of friends who have relaxed hair, and some who want to do the big chop, but they haven't made that decision yet. Some who think they'll never make that decision because they really don't believe, right? Because what you're talking about, our behaviors established a way, are established out of how we believe, right? And so for you, Crystal, I know you're a natural hair girl, and I want to just kind of get into your mind, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us for a few moments, what that process was like for you, right? And again, I want to say this is no pressure for anyone who's relaxing their hair, straightening their hair, and choosing not to go. Like, there's no pressure. Like, it's your hair, do you? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But there is, what I want to address is the psychological stuff that's going on as to what stops maybe some of us from making that decision. So Crystal, I would love to hear a little bit about your story and what caused you to now transition into being a natural girl.
Well, so for me, it was my scalp. So the relaxers irritated my scalp. And so my beautician at the time, we were always, using tea tree, some shampoo with tea tree in it to kind of help with the itchy scalp. And finally, you started seeing everybody talking about the natural movement and doing the big chop, right? That was like 10 years ago. And I said, no, I will never do the big chop. Because first of all, I don't want people to think that and I'm being real, I don't want anybody to think that I like women, because I was that big chop associated with, being a lesbian or whatnot. So I had that going on. And then I was like, is it beautiful, right? I mean, what would I look like?
Crystal, talk about
no hair, And so what actually took me over was my husband. So my husband said, no, but I think you should do it. I think you would look really good with your hair low. I was like, what? Really?
Come on, hubby.
And so
come through.
And so, his thing is, I don't care what your hair looks like as long as it looks good on you. You know what I mean? Just don't go out looking crazy. But anyway, he's the one actually that encouraged me to do it. I love that. And so, but I think he had some things on the side because I was taking forever to do my hair. And so
he said, how can we make this a win-win?
Get right. So anyway, I cut it off and I loved it, right? Loved it. My sons and I were going to the barbershop together. I even got it dyed. And then I started seeing, man, I could do a lot with my hair. My hair looks good straight. It looks good short. So let's start growing it out and see what it looks like. So I started playing around with that. And then at work, they were like, Crystal, what kind of style are you going to come up with? Because I was trying so many different things. I would come as a girl. Woman. I started wearing wigs. I started doing braids. I started doing all kinds of things, just trying to experiment. And then I got to the point to where, like this hair, it was freeing. Like I told Radhika last night, when I did the big chop, I rolled the window down in my car and rode around. I was like, oh my gosh, I had to worry about my hair flying in my face, right? Then I started working out more because I didn't have to worry. It was freeing that way. It was freeing and swimming. I love water, right? So I didn't have to worry about, okay, dang, if I get my hair wet, dang, I can't go, all of that was going on.
I'm gonna sweat my hair out or wet my hair. Yeah.
Man, so it was very freeing for me. And then I just haven't looked back at all. But it was important when my husband told me that I would look at having that vote of confidence from him. Was big for me. And I realizing that he was like, you'll look beautiful no matter what. And I was like, yes. And that was confirming for me and affirming.
What I love what you're saying is, and now my husband has helped me also overcome some appearance hangups, right? So one of mine was my big feet. And I was picked on for having big feet. I wear a size 11, proud as I don't know what, thank the Lord they created more shoes for me now than when I was growing up. But what I love about what you're saying, and Keya, you could probably even speak to this as well, men are a powerful voice for us, right? When we have men behind us that are like, you are beautiful, shaved, bald, curly, kinky, I don't care, you are beautiful, you are gorgeous. I was just watching not American Idol, what the heck, X Factor, whatever that singing show is, and a woman, she had, I think, is it called alopecia when you can't grow hair, Keya? And she was beautiful, bald hair, and she said she was so insecure. She was wearing wigs, and then she found this man with this beautiful head of dreads, and he was like, when I saw her, I said, she is the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. And that helps build her confidence. Now, what I'm not saying is we need to live off of other people's confidence. However, when we are in those crossroads, having men behind us, supporting us, telling us different messages than society says, you are a queen, you are beautiful, you are royal, you are regal, right? I love that even animated film that's won an award, Hair Love, right? Which kind of inspired this conversation. And you have a dad dealing with a little girl's hair that was, natural hair, and taught her really how to style it and also love her hair. And so shout out to all the husbands and the men out here who are advocating for the beauty, the natural beauty of women, no matter what. I did. Go ahead, Keya.
Before we move on, I just want to speak to that. And I know this may not be as popular of opinion or
come on, bring it
real quick. But we also have to remember that there are some men who tie and equate long hair.
They do.
They kind of push that stigma on you too.
That's right.
Come on, talk about it.
Married women that have the longer hair, and they force you and put that on you, and so they make you feel like you won't be good enough or beautiful enough, or they just love you or prefer you. Longer hair. And I would just say, ask him, like, why does he feel that way? Why does he think that your value is in your length of your hair? And I would
right.
just ask if your man can't take you. I mean, I realize everybody has a preference now. My husband may have a preference for color or this, but he doesn't have that much to say about my hair because this is mine, because this is what I do. And so
that's right.
Right.
Air on the side of, I love whatever you do because I know you're going to make the right decision. So
right.
Say that. But I have had people that may say, my husband will die if I get my hair trimmed, and he's going to notice if I get, and I'm like, sis, what is your husband do? Why is he putting this type of pressure on you?
Right.
Yes. And he needs to probably come with you to classes or take some, read a couple of books about how his not affirming you is really harming you.
Yes.
Because he won't let you in that area. Yep. So when people say that, they go, my husband won't like that style. Or when I get home, if he doesn't like it, then I go, then he will pay again for you to get it done. Right.
Hello.
If he wants to go, he needs to come to the appointment off top, or let me do the consultation with him because I'm not redoing anything. So, kind of dealing with the husband.
You're right, Keya.
That's right.
Way too much input, and we need to kind of check on that. Let's check on that a little bit and find out why
I love that
are leaning or want us to have this hair.
That's right.
It's just another point of pressure. Let's just put a little bit right there.
No, that's
not every husband is supporting your natural hair journey. And I have heard husbands of some of my friends say, no, you need to wear your hair straight. You need to straighten it. So you are telling the truth.
Yes.
And so again, you need to question that as a woman, as a wife, as a partner, have a conversation, because it sounds like there might be some social conditioning that maybe that, what I'm saying?
In your house. Trophyism. Let's go there. There's a certain
trophyism.
It's
come on.
Men tend to marry, let me not say that because I don't want any backlash about that, because I believe everybody loves who they love. Okay, that's fine.
Right.
But I do think there are some men who value those things, those physical appearances, and so they lean into
showpiece
that will typically have those attributes, which tend to be a white woman or a mixed woman, and she has to be light skinned, she has to be this. So that's another form of mental abuse for us.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because we're not light skinned, or that we're dark skinned, or if our hair is kinky, then we're not beautiful, we're not regarded like that trophy.
Right.
So to speak. So another small point that's not a big point. It doesn't take over what we're talking about. So don't
I love it.
come for me on that. That's just what I'm saying.
Y'all better not not come for her in them comments. Do you hear me?
Don't come for her.
Do not.
I got today.
Right.
I love it.
But I love what you're saying, because there's so much of this is rooted in social conditioning, and, I have a question here, even when it comes to hair discrimination, which I want to get to, but I'm going to jump to that now then. So oftentimes when we have these biases about hair from the media that's all around us, from the mainstream culture, right? It can often lead to unchecked biases can often lead to discrimination, right? So I really want to talk about hair discrimination, because I don't think that everyone is aware that this is actually happening in our world. And so before I jump to my questions, I want to share a couple incidents for those of you who may be thinking that's fake, that's not real, that's a made up, an imagined thing.
Yeah.
Just in January 2020, there was a Texas school district that came under fire for suspending a black prospective graduate over his refusal to cut his dreadlocks. Okay. In 2018, there was a little boy, I believe his name was Clinton Stanley, and he was so excited about his first day at a Christian private school in Florida. And so it was a small school. His dad loved that it was small, that it was intimate. They had a rigorous curriculum, and he thought it was a perfect fit for his son. I don't know if any of you have heard about this story, but guess what? On this baby boy's first day, walking into the school, he never even made it to the classroom.
Oh, wow.
An administrator stopped them at the entrance and demanded that the boy cut his hair before being admitted into the school.
Wow.
And so the administrator cited some type of school policy banning dreadlocks. One more story that I want to share is from December 2018. And I think some of y'all may have seen this on Twitter. It blew up. There was a varsity wrestler named Andrew Johnson. He was 16 years old, and the referees were giving him grief over his hair. And the young man said they had like an unrelenting fixation on my hair. So during the match, he was forced by a referee to either cut his dreads or forfeit the match.
Wow.
Does anybody remember what he decided to do?
Wow.
He decided, I'm going to fight in this match. So on camera, there was a white woman came up behind him, grabbed his dreads and just cut him off.
Oh, wow.
And it was an outrage. It blew up on social media. People were like, what in the world? This had nothing to do with this boy's hair. This had everything to do with race. It wasn't a hair issue. This was a race issue.
Yeah.
So thoughts about that, because there is some legislation that is in effect that I'm going to share with everyone here in a minute to let them know that there is there is movement to come against this kind of stuff. So thoughts on hair discrimination, y'all. You know, do you think this is an injustice? Why or why not?
I definitely do, and I'll share. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Crystal.
No, go ahead, Keya.
No, I was just going to say that's what this whole movement is about for us, you know, as stylists to be aware. I believe that stylists have the biggest voice in this whole thing, mostly because we're like the church for all.
Come on.
We kind of touch everybody. We have our own little congregations going.
I love that.
Well, so we can kind of make more traction versus just one person at a time talking. So we're trying to educate stylists on how to posture themselves, how to have that conversation with people so that they take it out into the world as well and have a different insight. How to diversify salons so that we become we start to what I call normalized texture. Stop making it the off-brand and making straight hair the default, and then everything else is kind of behind it. We're making it all inclusive. But if we're all talking about it, even as you know, from us, then we get to kind of speak to everyone about it. We have an opportunity every day, all day, to empower people with education and destroy ignorance. But until that happens, there's going to be this continuous, perpetual notion that, you know, curly hair is intimidating, it's unkept, it's this, it's that. And there's a huge discrimination and a disparity around curly hair. So that's what the texture versus race movement is all about.
Come on.
We're just starting with our own little churches in the salons. But to be honest with you, I believe stylists can change the world because that's where we are. You know, biggest reach. Everybody has a stylist.
Everybody.
Very few people walking around not seeing somebody at some point.
Sure.
So there's always that opportunity. And I just think that it's very fair for us to know that, okay, we got to talk about this and be open and honest and continue to have the conversation that says, what is it about my hair or this hair that makes you uncomfortable? What is it about what I've done? What is it about how I show up from my, you know, in my scalp or my hair that makes you feel like that has some type of representation on the quality of my work? Like,
come on.
Happen? And we have to have that conversation at all times. And it doesn't usually happen when you're fighting for your space. It has to happen in the upper echelons. And we have to force people to see it and realize it's a real thing. At my first year at Texture versus Race, I spent fighting with white people, just simply validating the fact that this was a thing. Like they were like, no. I was like, wow, it does. Like even touching hair, like they were like, no, that doesn't happen to me. I'm like, it doesn't happen to you. Nobody's trying to touch your hair, but it happens in this culture, and you can't minimize that.
Come on, Keya.
Allow people to gaslight you. So there's a space that we have to penetrate in order for us to get the information out there and talk about it and blow it up. And the legislation that's going on now, unfortunately, that is necessary to allow people to discriminate against you because of how you wear your hair that naturally grows out of your head. And it seems ridiculous that we would have to have a law in place. But it's ridiculous because we have a law that allows it. So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
Crystal, did you want to add anything to that, sis?
Well, no, I was just going to agree with her that conversation is definitely needed. As I recall a situation at work when I was first started my journey, and it had gotten long, like to my shoulder, and I straightened it. Like one time I said, you know, I'm going to see how long it is. So I just did it and went to work. And one of the guys there said, "Oh, now that's a hairstyle." And I was like, "What? What do you mean that's the hairstyle?" Right? Because it was straight now. It was no longer, you know, in its curly natural state. And so I said, this has nothing to do with me. I'm still beautiful. One, because, I already have this affirming thing with my husband. So, I'm already beautiful. Just because you're not used to it doesn't mean that this is a hairstyle. What about you? You have to stay prayed up. But anyway, it is still, that conversation. And that was like, probably 10 years ago. And so I don't have that. I haven't had that situation since, at least it wasn't verbalized. Let me just say that. It hasn't been verbal like that. But I know it's still out there, trust me. But, some people feel like, what, hey, that is what I've been used to. And so since you're coming here with this, it's going back to this militant thing, or it's unkempt, or whatever the case may be. But it is definitely out there, and it's definitely something that we need to talk to. And then we need to recognize that, like you said, Keya, our hair has nothing to do with our ability to do our work. You know what I mean? It's not my hair doing my work, right? It is me. It is, my hair is just an extension of me. And so to me, the question I have to ask is, sometimes with, even though a lot of this has been pushed on us, we've got media, we got all these things. Sometimes I wonder about if this emotional attachment to our hair, what are the spiritual implications of it? Is it because we don't know who Christ, that we were made in Christ's image, that we have this issue, right? If all of us are made in Christ's image, then how am I, or who am I, to go up here and have any type of say or demean you or whatever for how God created us or created me? We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if you go into Colossians 3, nobody knows who they're going to be like, right? When we get raised up in Christ, who we really are will be revealed. And so, we've got to take on this thing that, what, I'm more than my hair. What is this attachment to this physical piece? Like, what about my my spiritual piece, my soul, right? And I thought about Esther and how, Esther's beauty is what got her in the door, right? But what saved her country was what was in her. And so I think if we start focusing, put as much emphasis on our spiritual, do on the physical, then a lot of this stuff would be, in my mind, we wouldn't have to have this conversation if everybody focused on some spiritual and get that right. But I'm not going to go there. It's not a spiritual conversation. This is about hair. This is about hair.
I love that. I love that. What's interesting too about Esther, we know that Mordecai, her cousin, told her, because of her ethnicity, because she was a Jew, her real name was it Hadassah? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was like, don't use that name, go by Esther, so that people really don't know your ethnicity, your origin, and all of that, right? Yeah. And so even in their culture and society, it was like, cover up, don't really acknowledge the natural or the real part of who you are. And so, and I love that too, I really believe, for me in my own journey, is that my self-acceptance, me going on the journey of really loving every part of me, really came down to, if I were to say the core, y'all, for those who are listening, came down to me understanding my God acceptance.
Yes.
Once I understood that I am loved, accepted, embraced unconditionally by God, then it was like, it doesn't matter really what anyone else thinks about me, right? Yes. He put this type of hair on my head for a reason. And he said, everything that God created, he said, is good.
It's good. That's
so I want to speak to the women out there that don't you dare believe the lies that the media, that the culture has told you, that there's something wrong with you. You're unprofessional. You're ugly. You're not as attractive. You're not beautiful. Your hair is unmanageable. All these lies that we believe. God says that when he created you in his image, that you were good. You were fearfully and wonderfully made.
Wonderfully made.
You are wonderful. And so that, if there's no other takeaway that you get from this, because we're going to get into, I do want to come back to that Discrimination Act. Where my papers go, honey? You put my papers.
We need to ask Keya just how to educate our hair.
And that's exactly right. And I want her to do some teaching with us, because your girl needs some help, right? So on that note, I do want to just update everyone. As of right now, we have 4 states who have moved this legislation through called the Crown Act. And the Crown Act stands for Create a Respectful and Open Workplace for Natural Hair. And so this law protects against discrimination based on hairstyles, and it extends the statutory protection to hair texture and protective styles. And as of today, only 4 states, in Virginia, I believe, just became the 4th state as of March, if I'm not mistaken. California, New York, New Jersey, and Virginia are the only 4 states right now that have legally banned hair discrimination. But there are 13 other states that are considering similar legislation. So the movement is working, Keya, what you're doing, the education, the more people that are speaking up about how this is wrong. You know, my professionalism has to do with my performance and my character, not my hair, right? And so all of those different things, I love seeing it. It's a shame, like you were saying, Keya, that we have to have legislation that bans this, but this is the reality of the world that we're in. So I did want to ask you, Keya, this question about hair typing. So when I first started really looking at the YouTubers, okay, what kind of texture do I hair? What's my curl pattern? Am I 3C, A, B, C, 4, A, B, C? You know, what is all of that? And so tell us, Keya, what is hair typing? And do you think it's helpful or hurtful in our community?
All right. So hair typing came from, let me go back just a little bit. Hair typing came in the very curve, the very onset, actually, of the natural hair movement. And it was created by a man named Andre Walker, who was Oprah Winfrey's hairstylist. And he developed a product line, but he wanted people to be able to pick the products according to how they saw themselves in this grid or this chart, if you will. So he created the 1A, 2B, 3C concept to sort of give people a way to identify with themselves. So what has happened is when the stylists, like myself, back then did not know how to do curly hair, and there was no curriculum around curly hair. Like I'm helping to build the curly hair curriculum right now. So you know, come on, girl. The curly hair curriculum is brand new to us, and we're teaching people who we would think should know don't know, because we didn't know back then. There was no curriculum, no standard for operation, because it wasn't a thing per se. Right. There was very few natural hair stylists that really did natural hair with no chemicals at all. And they were probably the 1% of the whole industry. Wow. So when that happened, everybody started to lean into that chart because they wanted to find themselves. They wanted to find a space. They wanted to make sense out of something that nobody seemed to have an answer for. And it was the only thing there. It was the only thing there that was leaning into, let me halfway be able to get you to identify with who you are, what you are, where you fit in. It was a sense of belonging. So while stylists sort of want to, you know, be hard on the YouTubers and be hard on the clients that have bought into that, and they come in, because y'all coming in now a little bougie, you know, y'all over the years have built up your YouTube, you know, you studied, and now you graduated with a degree in YouTube from YouTube University. Now all of y'all think y'all know more than a stylist, and at some point you did. Let me just say that. At some point you did. Y'all graduated, y'all took the course before us. Y'all actually to sort of build it out. So that we now took it and said, okay, but scientifically that doesn't make sense. You know, product is going to work, because so then we got to put our spin back on it and take it back from you. So to be honest with you right now, we've taken our book back. We've taken it back.
Show it, Keya.
This is my journal.
What is that? What is that, Keya?
It's a journal. It's a hair color journal that I have, that I sell to my colorists that I train and mentor and coach. But
that's beautiful.
We took the book back because we didn't know at a time. So what y'all did was y'all just got into some place and was like, oh, what does that mean? And it does have meaning. It does have meaning. Your A, B, and C has everything to do with your curl type, like whether it's straight, wavy, curly, or coily. So we'll say, is it straight, you know, is it curly, or is it kinky? And A, B, and C really stands for fine, medium, and coarse. That's a basic chart if you want to find yourself. The problem with the chart is there's so much more about you and so much more that we need to find out about you that would really help to identify you as an individual, because every single person is not going to fall into those 9 square spaces.
Right.
So that's why the stylist now comes back in play, because now we go deeper because we've taken our degree and put it back to good use in the natural hair community now.
Yeah.
So now we get to understand things like, okay, but past just being fine, medium, or coarse, you know, what's happening with your cuticle layers? Like, what is your porosity? What is your elasticity? What is your curl density? What is your curl strength? Like, what is your spring back? What is your, you know, what is your moisture levels? What is your lifestyle? How does that play a part? Your lifestyle. What's the results that you're actually looking for? How, you know, your cuticle layer, like all of that. How does it lay? How does your surface of the cuticle layer play a part? Like, but that's where we stand in our authority.
I love that.
Where we're now the experts on the subject matter now. If you can find a good one, we're producing those. You know, there are a few, not a lot, but there is a lot more education now that we're now running people through these new curriculums and teaching them how to address your hair care issues. So when y'all come in with all of y'all, because you know I'm a 3B and I'm a this, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, and so now we understand where you're coming from, but we have to disarm you softly. So, Radhika, I understand, but you have a lot more textures in your hair. That may just be what you see, but here, and here, you've got this, you've got porosity, you've got zones, you've got that, you've got surface, you've got history. This one has age. You know, this curl is different. So when I finally start speaking all this good other language to you, you're going to be like, oh, okay, girl, you know best.
Hey, listen. Keya, I'm gonna be 44 years old, and I'm just now learning a little bit about my hair. I really am. And one of the things I did learn, so I you know, I don't know if you want to jump into Crystal as well, but you know, for me, when I learned about the whole curl, I'm like, it was interesting. It was informative. But for me, the biggest issue that I was having with my hair was moisture. And I was getting product buildup. And so I didn't realize, you know, when you look into porosity that I according to the YouTubers, and you let me know if I'm wrong, like I would put water on my hair and it would just roll off. You know, when if my hair is dry and I put product on it, my hair is not absorbing it. It just sits on it. So I was getting all this product buildup all the time. And I didn't understand when my hair was at its best to retain moisture, right? So let me even throw this out here. The YouTubers taught me about the lock method. What is the lock method? And is that even helpful information? Is there validity to that, Keya, as you're the expert in that industry? Talk to me about the lock method.
So the YouTubers did what we did not do. We were not in a space to be able to do it. So what they did was they did all kinds of things to try to figure out what was going to happen with this natural hair movement. So you must have to use something natural. So y'all made a whole bunch of salad dressings and cracked the egg and put a little cayenne on it and the mayonnaise and this and that. And so some of what they say is a little ridiculous, but I also don't frown upon it because I realized that you had to have some place to go because I was not there. So I can't frown upon someone at least trying to do the research and development to get you to the next level in space. However, I do feel like there is a lot more information out there. And so when you talk about, you know, porosity levels and different things like that, you have to remember too that the products that you're putting on, sometimes the way you put products on, you know, the result, you're sometimes escalating the problem even in and for yourself. The way that you do things. And I just think that we have to bring it back. I don't think the YouTubers were wrong, you know, in all senses, but I do think that now there's more information available. And I think that we need to kind of pivot and come back to trusting that again.
I love that.
That makes sense.
So I want to spend these next maybe 10 to 15 minutes hearing the practicality, right, from our expert. You are not a YouTuber, even though you can kill all them YouTubers out there just because of
YouTubers. I think YouTubers are strong. I think that's our fault not being in that space. We didn't show up and give you enough. We didn't stand in our authority. We didn't position ourselves as the expert on the subject matter. So therefore, YouTuber is not my problem. I don't have a problem with YouTubers. that now I need to tell you, Radhika, let me help redirect you in some ways. Let me show you in my growth. Now I can better assist you now than I ever could.
Yes, absolutely. Because really that was birthed out of a need and a desire to just teach other women, like, this is what I'm learning, and not necessarily understanding all the science behind it, right? It's more like preferences and all of that. So I do want to talk a little bit about hair care with you, and just some very basic things, right? So for example, recently I put a post on, and I was tripping because, you know, I don't know if you can tell what kind of curls, my curl pattern and all this other stuff, but these are my curls.
Beautiful.
And I was in the bathroom, you know, obviously in the shower, and you gave me some tips, right? So everyone, of course, chimed in. This is what I've done. This is the tools that I use. Did you do this? Did you do that? Because I lost a lot of hair detangling my hair. But as you can see, I wear it up in a bun a lot when it's curly. So this stuff was a hot rat's nest when I went to go wash it and condition it, and I lost a lot of hair. And here I am going to be 44 years old, and some of the very basic things that you shared on there, I was like, I didn't know I should be doing that. I didn't know that I should be detangling my hair before I get in. I didn't know that when my hair was wet, that it actually gets weaker, you know, and it's stronger when it, like, so even the information you were sharing with one of my friends on Facebook, she's one of my white friends, and she adopted a little black girl, and I just saw all the comments because she is hungry for knowledge and education as she's adopted this little girl, this beautiful little girl, and she's doing a fantastic job, Shannon, with baby girl's hair. But the practicality when it comes to, so let me just share this and you speak to what you want, right? I'm hearing about conditioning, co-washing, pre-poo, deep conditioning. Do I use a towel to dry my hair? Do I use a t-shirt to dry my hair? Do I wrap my hair up at night, or do I just leave it the way it is? You know, how do I grow my hair? Oh, I got to stimulate my scalp. I got to put this special growth oil on. There's so many things when it comes to just hair care basics. So just, what are some of the common things that you could share with us about washing, conditioning, moisturizing, and just strengthening our hair? I mean, you go from whatever angle, as you're the expert, so you're going to know what's going to be the common issues that you're seeing that can help some of us who really are just learning how to manage, care for, nurture, and protect our hair.
Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna jump into, I'm gonna help save a lot of lives right now. Okay, we're gonna be right here on Hair Love, sharing some good news of Jesus right now. We're gonna talk to and speak to the spirit of co-washing.
Yeah, tell me, what is that? I have never done it, but come on, talk to us.
All right, so co-washing came from the idea that you could have a cleansing mechanism or cleansing ingredients in a conditioner's form or cream. It didn't suds, it didn't do a lot of foaming, but it was to cleanse with the conditioner. The problem is people took the term and alleviated the fact that it was actually a product. It is not an action. Co-washing is not an action. It is actually indeed a product. So when you get a product that is not a co-wash product, it lacks the ability to cleanse. So what you're essentially doing is washing your dirty clothes in fabric softener. Yeah, let that sink in. Because now you're only adding fragrance on top of dirt and soil that have not left you. So now you have a compact residual effect of that, which can clog your cuticles and can clog your pores and cause your hair to break over time. And it creates this barrier that every effort you put after that to moisturize your hair is in vain, is a moot point. So your hair may in fact dry out still, even though you think you're doing your very best to moisturize it. You're actually not, because you're just simply adding something on top and layering things that are causing it to just not get what it needs actually. So co-wash is not my best friend. I have a need for a co-wash or a use for a co-wash, but it needs to say it is a co-wash. You cannot pick up a conditioner and do it. And what the biggest mistake is even when because all of the companies now make a co-wash, what they don't specify in the small print is that you have to have cleansing. You have to cleanse the hair in between so that you can have the co-washing for any of your moisturizing efforts to be effective. So using a co-wash should be alternatively done with cleansing that hair, getting back to its raw self. If I wanted to take a shower and put on perfume, my perfume best thrives when I'm fresh. My lotion best penetrates when my body is clean and fresh and my pores are open. Not after I've dried, walked out, ran down the street, sweat, came back, and now I want to put lotion on and I want my skin to absorb it. It's not going to, because it's not, that's not when it was at its best to receive it. So your job is to shampoo that hair with soap. I get we like sulfate freeze, but sulfate freeze run in the middle of being a co-wash to a lighter version of soap, when really once you put all that stuff on it, and God forbid you still subscribing to the salad dressing method, you've got a lot of stuff caked on your hair. And if you are just simply a product junkie and you're trying all these different things, you're not cleansing and you're not getting that stuff off. You're just simply layering on top of layer on top of layer, which is simply just eradicating the problem. I mean, it's just not eradicating it. It's actually pushing that problem to be that much more extensive for you on the other side.
Yeah.
So I would say get yourself a good clarifier.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs a good clarifier, especially if you use product. You want to get a clarifier. Then you want to shampoo. You want to cleanse the hair with some type of moisturizing shampoo. Then you want to use your conditioner and then your styling, whatever that is, however you want to style it. If you want to just re-energize or rehydrate a look, you can, in your shower, rehydrate or reactivate with the co-wash, which takes just the very top layer off and let you start from the beginning, and then you can kind of restyle and rehydrate. But its job is to keep you from cleansing so much you dry it out, but you also have to remember that the hair thrives best when it gets what you're trying to give it. So if you don't cleanse it, it's still not going to get it.
Yeah.
So I love what you said about, I'm very particular about what I put in my body. So reading ingredients and all that preservatives, and I try to be as natural as possible. And the same thing with my hair products. And I'm glad you mentioned about the sulfates, because I wrote down here, I use products that are sulfate free, paraben free, and silicone free, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that and hear, you know, is that good? Am I being extreme? Because you hear everyone say, well, I know parabens are hormone related, but I just wanted you to talk a little bit about products that may have those and don't have them, and what's the benefit, pros and cons.
There's a such thing as let me see how I can put this in perspective. Some things are real and some things are marketing, and there's a part of marketing that uses the scare tactic for you. And it's not that it's not good or it wasn't the truth at some point into some level and for someone, but it doesn't necessarily mean every single person is going to have that. So parabens were used, the quality of parabens that were used years ago were perceived to cause cancer. We get that. But the quality of sulfates that we use now are very necessary, and they're just high quality. So put this in perspective to you. When you go to buy cocoa butter, there's a such thing as pure 100% cocoa butter in the, you know, it's a little block.
In the raw,
And you bought it straight back from Africa or wherever, right? And you have those that say we're 100% cocoa butter, and it's a hard block.
Yes.
You know, you almost have to, you know, chisel it.
Heat it or something,
And then you have cocoa butter or lotion with cocoa butter. And then you have some that'll say it's a lotion with cocoa butter, and it's not 100% cocoa butter anymore, because it's not it's not the cream, it's not the bar, it's not the butter. I mean, it's not the cream, but it's actually the lotion with a little bit of cocoa butter in it. So when you find a bottle that says it has it, it may have the slightest bit of cocoa butter in it, but you can still put that it has cocoa butter on it.
Yeah.
So that's so when we talk about grades of something and its amount of something, that is what we want to look at when we're buying products. All the time, you have to remember too that sulfates are necessary. There are some preservatives that are necessary so you can keep your product. Like some things you buy when they say it has no preservatives, well, you better use it in about a week because it ain't gonna be good.
That's true. Yeah.
It's not going to be good in a minute. There's some oils that are very necessary. Some silicones that are water soluble that are very necessary to keep the product intact and work well for you. But in order to keep you buying something and buying the next and buying the new, some of that is fueled by a fear tactic.
Okay.
So it's really understanding that sulfate-free just means you have a very mild shampoo, which is great, but you also need to include a cleanser sometime and clean it off so that you can start over.
Yeah. How often would you recommend? I know everyone's hair is different, texture, their activity and all that, but on general, because I always wonder this myself, like how often should I be washing and conditioning my hair?
Often.
Like what's often?
Once or twice a week.
Okay, I do the once a week.
Once a week is good.
If
you can do once a week is really good, Radhika. Like I think that, people, here's how our cultures have started to switch. Caucasian people typically have straighter and wavier hair, a very tighter cuticle, shinier, more resistant cuticle layer, right? Mm-hmm. Because that hair is straighter, the law of gravity takes their oil from the scalp that runs down the hair strand a lot quicker. So their shampoo regimen was usually every day possible.
Yeah.
Now they're backing up saying, well, if I just get better products or I just don't do this, and this, I don't have to shampoo my hair all the time. Whereas the Black culture, our Black women with the curlier, the kinkier, the coilier hair, we're so busy, don't shampoo it because then you take all my natural oils out. Right. You understand that oil can't go and defy gravity and get to your ends. But what we are missing is the fact that a clean scalp and clean hair absorb moisture, and the dirtier and the more soiled it is, it ain't getting the moisture no way. So it didn't really matter. So it's funny how we're shampooing more and they're shampooing less because we're learning to take race off the table, which is what texture versus race stands for, is saying hair is indeed a texture and a fabric and not a race. So now we're dealing with everybody individually as a texture and a fabric in all of your variables, everything that makes you you, what will work for you, and no one or two people are going to be exactly the same.
That's right.
That's good.
So how would you define healthy hair for us textured hair women?
Healthy hair is going to be hair that's thriving, hair that is getting what it needs as far as moisture, protein. You're getting the results you want, but you don't really know your hair until you strip that hair down to the bare naked self and get a detox. We've done so.
Oh, snap, a detox. What's that? Talk to me about that.
Like, you need to go see a stylist for that, but that's pretty.
I need to go see Keya. I'm flying to you, Maryland.
I got
you come down here, Keya, and get all of us.
Where y'all at? Where you at again?
Oklahoma City, girl.
Oh, dear God, I'm coming. I've never been. I'm coming. I'm coming over there.
Come down here.
Yes, absolutely. So, detox is when we kind of take you back to the bare bones to see what's really living underneath there. You don't really know what hair will do outside of having all this extra stuff embedded in your cuticle, all this product that you've been putting on, all this co-washing and sulfate freeing and proteining, and I got this and I got that. And so by the time you have all this buildup, your hair can't really give you a good reading. You really have a false reading, even on your best shampoo attempt.
Wow.
You need detox to take and eliminate all of that off of your hair so that we can see how does your hair look naked, and then just to decide what you need.
That's powerful. I had no idea. Maybe I'm just ignorant. I am ignorant of all of that.
Well, think about it. Let's think about your cleansing for your skin. So you can just cleanse it, and you can, let me take you to how I really do it. Sometimes you could just take a wipe and wipe your face. That's probably like co-washing, okay?
Yeah, I don't know that.
You could take a good cleanser and just cleanse your face real quick, maybe a bar of soap or whatever cream cleanser you got. That would be kind of like just your shampoo. But then I could put a scrub on and a mask. Right. That would be more like my my clarifying. But then I could go to the facial, to an esthetician that gives me a facial.
Okay, break it down.
There's levels to this thing.
Yeah.
Wow. I need to do that.
Facial. You need a hair facial.
Yes, I do. Oh my gosh, Keya, if you saw my hair, I'd probably get a spanking from you. Because I ain't even gonna go. I don't even know when the last time I got my hair trimmed. I'm ashamed, y'all. I'm ashamed.
I know you don't like the salons, Radhika.
I don't.
You curved me one time, and I said I wasn't going to say that. You curved me one time. I was like, I was going to come to something. I was like,
I know. And I don't know if she's still on. Irene was gonna, when I was over there in Maryland, and she was like, I'm going to treat you. She's like, I treated you. I already paid for it. You go see Keya.
Did.
And I never followed through.
Like, I was like, okay. But I realized, that's okay.
Well, next time I'm in Maryland, I'm going to see if you're in town, because I know you're traveling all over the world with your movement, girl, which I'm just so, as I listen to you, as I listen to your passion, I listen to your mission and your purpose, like, I for real am just so full of joy, because I know that you are in a fight, Keya, that a lot of people are not in right now. And I just appreciate you, the way God built you, for this fight, because you are leading the charge in this. And listen, y'all, if you do not follow Keya, you need to follow her. I know we're going to share all her information about this color culture, this texture versus race movement education, like the things that y'all getting this for free today. If y'all been with us, you're getting a lot of valuable information from an expert, someone who knows what they're talking about, right? And actually cares not just about you, your hair, she cares about you as a whole person, your psyche, your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being. And so you're putting all of that together, and really it's a ministry, Keya. And I see your ministry, your movement. And I'm so grateful to you and thankful to you as someone who had a white mama who did the best she could with my hair. And I didn't learn a lot. And some of that's my fault, because she learned how to braid and I didn't. But she ain't here with us no more. But I'm learning now. And I just appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, your life, to just come and give us not only a cultural perspective, the racial perspective, the social conditioning, the practicality, and so I want to give it to you, these, last couple moments as we get ready to wrap up, on final thoughts, and from you as well, Crystal, any questions that you have. I know you may have been writing some notes down, but really want to kick it to you and say, what do you want to say to the woman that's listening, that's watching this, about the hair love and the bigger meaning, which we already defined earlier, of what that really means? What do you want to say to her?
When you sit in my chair, and I'm saying you, meaning everyone watching, one of the first things that I do is try to get you to a point where you accept and love you for who you are, and understand that our journey is not to make you look like anyone else, but the best version of you.
Yes.
And that is my mission from the top. I definitely push that, because that is the hardest part about doing anybody's hair. It has nothing to do with your curls. It has nothing to do with my twist out skills. It has nothing to do with my coils. It has nothing to do with the product that I use. It has everything to do with the heart condition of the person that's sitting in it. And that's why we practically do surgery, and we have to pray. It's a prayer that we have to pray, and we have to speak to you and speak to the inner you and pull that part up out of you.
Yeah.
To understand that our job today is not to get you to look like Tracy Ellis Ross. Okay, everybody wants to look like Tracy Ellis. I want to look like Tracy. Her hair, anyway.
Yes, her hair is beautiful.
But her hair, I want Tracy.
I want it.
Tracy didn't even love her own hair until recently.
It's true. That's true.
Tracy
Talk about it.
The best of us with her hair and not being able to fit in and not know. So being able to show you in your best space, and you be able to say, and I'm good with that. I just want to know, what will my hair do? To what extent can I wear my hair? What are my options? And when we get our eyes off of, like you said earlier, Crystal, when we get our eyes off of, but I want to look like this, and say, but I want to look like this.
Right. Exactly.
I want to look like this. I want to be the best version of Keya and Radhika and Crystal. That to me is the start of a beautiful journey, because now we set the expectation on the right path.
That's right.
And it alleviates a lot of disappointment. It alleviates a lot of unmanaged expectations.
Yes.
And we learn to discipline our disappointment.
You're bringing tears to my eyes, because
yes, that's good.
I mean, I don't know if people can just sense the Holy Spirit on that, Keya. I do. And I see the spiritual implications of what you're doing. You are healing women. You are a vessel that he is using, you know, of his love to affirm, esteem, encourage, empower, and educate women so they can love themselves the way God made them. And so that blesses me. I feel it in my spirit. And I'm going to stop talking because I know we're going to end this. And I want to give it over to Crystal for any last thoughts, reflections, statements that you have, Crystal.
Really, like Keya said, just piggybacking off of her, it was just loving who we are, who God created us to be. We were fearfully and wonderfully made. And as we go on this journey of figuring out and loving us, may we also turn that to God, right? Let's look to God and see, who has God created us to be? What does God have in plan for us? Right? Because he put us here in this space, in this particular time, to do a great work for him. And I can tell you that we are made up of a body, a soul, and a spirit. And we need to be focused on all three of those things.
Come on.
You know, in Matthew 10:28, you know, it tells us to not worry about who can kill the body, but be worried about who can do the body and the soul, right? And so we're on this earth here for just a blip, right? But what we do in this earth right now will determine where we spend eternity. And so let's focus on getting that spiritual health together so that it will come out
flow
externally of who we are. And, you know, that self-love. And then we can get to that place. We don't have to make it so hard for Keya to have to go up here.
Right. Covering all the bases for us, huh?
Everything. Right?
Mind, body, and spirit in the chair. 30 minutes.
When we give you a consultation, really what we're doing is ministering to the soul and prepping the person to come for the service.
That's right.
Wow.
That's
so beautiful.
Time to do it all in one day, and if we do, we have to set aside that time. So sometimes we'll give you 30 minutes and 45 minutes to just talk, because that's really what most of you want anyway. You just want to go out and tell us about stuff that don't really have nothing to do with the price of milk at that moment. Seriously, it's about purging and getting it all out and letting us know who you are. And that's our job to take it.
I love that.
Love it.
Well, listen, Crystal, thank you for reminding us of that spiritual perspective. You know, I'm just reminded of the scripture in 1 Peter 3 that says, you know, your beauty should not come from outward adornment.
No.
It should, such as braided hair and the wearing of gold jewelry and fine clothes. Instead, it should be that of your inner self.
That's right.
The unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. And Keya, that's what you're doing. That's what Crystal and I are all about doing. We just do it in different ways, right? But it's the same mission that we have for women, is to help them see that inner beauty, right? And at the outside is just a manifestation of what's happening inside.
Exactly.
So Keya, thank you for sharing your gift, your education, your knowledge, expertise with the world. Tell people where they can find you with your texture versus race movement and your color culture movement. Tell them about that. Where can they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at texture versus race. That's TEX.
Yes.
Oh, there it is.
VS race. You can find that on Instagram. You can also find me at Keya_artistically. That's where I live. That's where I house. That's where you get more of me. But there'll be more information and things that we can kind of lean into in education on the texture versus race side. But Keya Artistically is where you get more of me, which is everything that I do. I'm also on Instagram. On Facebook as Keya Artistically Neil. Keya Neil Artistically is my fan page. I'm starting to work a little bit more with that as well. But you know, you can follow me because that's where I put all of my stuff. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a community for the consumer as well. Just being able to have a space for people like to ask questions and to find stylists and people who are working in your area that can bring that level of expertise to you. So I'm looking to create like a networking program. So keep a lookout for that. So you want to follow me, so when I drop that, it'll be there, and we'll all be able to gather together and uplift and empower each other. But thank you.
That's going to be awesome. I so appreciate that. Yes, keep us posted. And Crystal, where can people find you? Because my sister, she's also a blogger in the spirit. She brings a seasoned word, you know, for people. So where can they find you, sis?
You can find me on seasonedword.com. That's where my blog is. Instagram is Seasoned Word. I'm also on Facebook as Crystal Hurd, and trying to launch this website here soon. So hopefully
it's coming. Along with that book that she's about to birth. So lots of good things happening. I love you, my sisters. I was so blessed today. Who would have thought you feel the Spirit of God just overwhelm you on a hair conversation? Because it's so much bigger than that, isn't it? It really is. It is. Thank you, Keya. I love you, sis.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye, Crystal. See you all soon. Bye, guys.
So I need you guys to subscribe. And also, I want you to get the merch. So I need you to get the merch. It's called Leave Love Thrive. And wait. And also dim the lights right now. We'll see you later. Peace. Goodbye.